Hello, everybody. I am the Warped Adventurer, and we're going to be trying something new today and probably refocusing the channel. So, my favorite game of all time is, well, I think you can tell by now, it's Magic the Gathering. And I wanted to focus my channel more on it, and so we're starting today. We're going to be starting off with a segment I'll be calling Deck Talk, and it's where I tell you guys about my decks, starting with probably my best deck, Meren of Clan Nel Toth. I run 34 lands in Meren and a few special lands, Grey Havens for the ETB Scry, and you can tap it to add some mana, so that's nice. Restless Cottage. Yeah, we're going to college now. Nah, it taps for black or green, always nice. And it can become a creature and create you some food to gain some life, always nice. You got Blighted Woodland for a little bit of ramp. High Market, you could tap, sack a creature, and gain a life, so it's a free sack source. Gain a little bit of life early game. And it can tap for colorless mana, which you prefer the black or green, or you want black or you want green, but still better than nothing, right? And it's worth it for the sack source on a land. And then we got Golgari Rot Farm, um, for obvious reasons, and we got Command Tower for even more obvious reasons. So, let's start down the line. Um, these are like reactionary or miscellaneous cards, I would say. Got Golgari Charm. This is just a super wide variety of ways it can be helpful to you. You can give all creatures -1/-1 and just wipe out a token deck in the snap of a finger. Or you can blow up an enchantment that's being an issue. Or if someone's board wiping, you could regenerate each creature you control. There's just such a wide variety of things you can do with it. Insanely helpful. Highly suggest it in your Meren decks too. Then we're running Swiftfoot Boots to protect Meren because once they figure out what you're doing, Meren will be targeted out the gate. So you want to protect her. Then we'll go on to the ramp, which mainly creature ramp here. We got Jaheira, Friend of the Forest. Well, Friend of the Forest. 2/3. Tokens you control have tap out a green. And you make a lot of tokens with this deck. And so, Jaheira will help you ramp early game and late game. And mid, everywhere in between. And super helpful. Smeagol, helpful guide. Um, he can make your creatures harder to block by end step tempting you with the ring, and whenever you're tempted by the ring, you just steal somebody's lands and mill them some. It's decently helpful. He's just a okay way to ramp. Granted, you're probably going to draw a little bit of ire from your uh, table friends for him, but not that big of an issue. You have bigger things and bigger threats in here that's going to be drawing other people's ire. We got Avenging Druid, which whenever it hits an opponent, you reveal cards top of your library until you reveal a land, put it into play, and the rest of the cards go to your graveyard. So it mills you, it ramps you, and it's a 1/3, so it's pretty easy to block, but um yeah, it's just really helpful. Poke someone, get a land, mill some, get some creatures in the graveyard or something. All around, Avenging Druid, while older, still helpful for this deck. Skull Prophet, tap out a black or green, and you can tap to mill yourself for 2. And it's a 3/1 for 2 if you want to get in early game damage. All around, that's helpful. Soul Ring, yeah, nobody cares. Uh, Death Bloom Ritualist, 3/5. Tap at X mana of any one color where X number creature cards in your graveyard. Now, if you can't tell, Meren is a sacrifice deck. This deck is, at least. Do what you want with your Meren. But, so, you tend to have, when you get to like mid game, 10 to 15 creatures in your graveyard. You just tap Death Bloom and add 15 black mana. I'd say that's a pretty good ramp. That's like a black version of yeah, that one card. Everybody knows that one card. Then we're moving on to the card fetch. So Burning Rune Demon. Now this dude's terrifying because on when he enters, you fetch two cards not named Burning Rune Demon that have different names, and opponent chooses one of them, and you get that one, chosen one to your hand. The other goes to the graveyard. Doesn't matter where they put it. You care about having it. So you play Burning Rune Demon, and you fetch, let's say, Eternal Witness and not Ashnod's Altar, and Altar of Dementia. It doesn't matter which one goes where, because if they throw Altar into the graveyard and Eternal Witness to hand, you just play Eternal Witness and get Altar to hand. And so then you sacrifice Burning Rune Demon to said altar to mill yourself for 6 and pip up Meren's experience counters. And step, get them back to field, fetch another 2 cards, sacrifice them again to mill yourself for another 6, and just fill up your graveyard in an instant. For 12 cards, and he's a 6/6 flyer. If you're looking to beat people over the head with him, he's pretty decent for that. All around, he's perfect for this deck. Then we got Magus of the Order. Not as good as Burning Rune Demon, but she puts the one you fetch to field instead of going to hand. However, she specifies green. You pay a green, tap, sacrifice Magus of the Order and another green creature, and fetch a green creature card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So you kill 2 things with her, which is nice. 2 mana pips. You fetch, I don't know, let's fetch a Bloodspore Thrinax with her, and then sacrifice a bunch of creatures. She just, and then end step, get her back to fetch another creature. It's super helpful, and you're not going to find much else like her. Now we got Rushed Rebirth. And this one is an instant, and so you won't be able to repeat it as easily as with creatures. But as I stated before, this deck is focused on being able to repeat your stuff. So we got Rush Rebirth. Choose target creature. When it dies, search your library for a creature card with lesser mana value. Put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Now, importantly to note, you don't have to choose your own creature. Let's say someone just played a Atali Primal Storm or that 7 cost Atali, the new Atali, that one. Let's say someone played that, and then you cast Rushed Rebirth on it on your turn, and then you play your uh, Dark Hatchling and kill that Atali, and then you fetch your own creature. You dealt with an issue. It's just all around it's going to fetch you the cards you want to field, which, as I said before, super helpful. They come in tapped, which with Meren not that big of an issue. That you're probably going to sacrifice that creature you just fetched anyway, so doesn't matter. It's tapped. Excuse me. Now let's move on to card draw, which there's other card draws spread out in here, but these ones are like put in here mainly for card draw. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. Skull Clamp. You're gonna see it in almost every Meren deck, and for good reason. You just kill all your tiny 1/1 tokens and draw a bunch of cards and fill up your hand, and then you got all your win cons. Woohoo! Look at you go. Nobody cares about it though, so Skull Clamp is in here. Woohoo! Then we got Fruit of the First Tree. This one I don't see in a whole lot of Meren decks, probably because it's not a creature, but with my Eternal Witness and other ways to recur stuff like that, or mainly just fetch Eternal Witness, which I do it almost every time I play Meren. So you When enchanted creature dies, you gain X life and draw X cards where X is its toughness. Now, in Meren, you're going to have a lot of creatures with a lot of big booties, so you're generally going to be drawing at least draw 5 cards, gain 5 life, which that's pretty good if you ask me. But no need to ask me. Ask anyone else. They'll tell you the same. Is drawing 5 cards and gaining 5 life good? Yes. Then we got Shadowheart Dark Justisar or whatever. 3/4. You pay 2, tap, sack another creature, draw X cards, where X is power. Super simple card draw engine. It's nice. Notably, you have to tap it, which, while not amazing, it's you're not going to be sacrificing this one often. So you're just going to play it, and later when you need the card draw, you just activate it and fill up your hand. So there's card draw when you need it. And Krav the Unredeemed. This dude is one of the better mass card draw engines in here. He's a 3/3, and if you had Regna the Redeemer in here somehow, you could do that, but the partner with her doesn't matter. He's a 3/3. You could pay a black and sacrifice X other creatures. Target player draws X cards and gains X life. Then you put X/1/1 counters on Krav. Now, I don't know about you. Paying a black and sacrificing 5/1/1 scions to draw 5 cards and gain 5 life is really good. Now, a little bit of fun player manipulation you could do is you could offer to give someone else some card draw and life gain in return for a little bit of deals. And the issue you have with Meren a lot is generally people just want to kill her. When she gets going, they just want her dead. But if you make them that kind of offer, they may think about perhaps letting you live. And all you need to do is reach late game and you become an unstoppable freight train. And so cards like this that can help you, but also could possibly help an opponent, is really nice to let you get to that late game easier. Then free sack sources, which is extremely good in any Meren deck. You got Glimmer Baron, sack a token, gets 2/2. It's a 1 for a 1/2. Pretty good. You got let's do this one first. Viserys here, another 1-drop. 1/1, sack a creature, scribe 1. Also good. I suggest people add this check to more Meren decks. Moving on, Phyrexian Plague Lord. A lot of people I see don't want to add Phyrexian Plague Lord to the deck, but I find it's not that big of an issue if you add him. 5, okay, ups your mana curve some, but that's not the issue. His tap, sacrifice himself, target creature gets -4/-4 is pretty pathetic. I agree, but his free sack ability, you sack a creature, target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn, is so good because the moment he hits the field, someone could cast go for the throat on him, and in response, you just sacrifice 15 1/1s that you've been holding out, and just start picking apart that board like you dropped a nuke on their field. It's super nice, and it can pick your opponent's boards apart when you need it to. Or if he's your only free sack source, then you got a free sack source. Always good. Especially free infinite sack sources. Well, not infinite, but sack them as much as you need to, so on and so forth. Then we got removal. Acidic Slime, always good. Woodfall Primus, which is a 6/6 trample, enters battlefield, destroy target non-creature permanent, and it has persist. So when it dies, you can bring it back, even if you sacrificed it, notably. And so you play it, shoot Maze's End, and sacrifice it to Altar of Dementia to mill yourself for 6. And then it comes right back to the field, and you can blow up that smothering tides that's causing issues. Dark Hatchling, 3/3 flyer. It costs 6, which most other decks I would say not worth having this in here. But with this kind, with my deck specifically, the higher mana costs don't mean a lot because you're not going to be hard casting them often. The once you, I use a D12 for my experience counters in this deck, and so once you get to 12, it's pretty pointless to count beyond that unless your token counters matter, which in which case I suggest a different commander, my friend. Excuse me. Noxious Gearhulk, obviously, some life gain removal, ETB removal, great. And Skyfisher Spider. 3/3 reach. Enters the battlefield, sack another creature. You may. Uh, sorry. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature, and when you do, destroy target non-land permanent. Hits anything you want it to. It's 4 for a 3/3 reach if that's what you care about. And when it dies, you may gain 1 life for each creature in your graveyard. If you do, exile it from your graveyard. So when you get to late game and you're not really caring about the removal as much, you can do it one more time, and when it dies, you just send it to exile and gain a whole bunch of life. And so no matter what point of the game you're in, it's always going to be helpful. Now this stuff is mainly just for the life gain. Essence Warden, it's basically Soul Warden but green, and so 1/1, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Get that on turn 1, and you build up that life for the late game. And in this kind of deck, it's really nice. Generally, Essence Warden or Soul Warden get targeted out like that because they're just hard to. Life is a lot harder to deal with than creature, so kill the creature before it builds your life up. But in this kind of deck, just end step, get it right back. Unless they're exiling it, which you don't see nearly as often as just basic removal, which is fair. But with this kind of deck, not many people run Graveyard Hate. You might see a Bajuka Bog, and if you do, I'm sorry, your day just got a whole lot harder. But besides that, Essence Warden is a great way because to build up your life, because generally people see Meren as a threat when you believe it's too late. But Essence Warden is good because you just gain the life for the late game, and for when inevitably everyone sees you as archenemy, you can then have some life to be able to soak up some damage because you probably will eat some damage. Grim Feast. On your upkeep, you take a damage. Don't care. Cost 3. Okay, it's an enchantment, not a creature. Doesn't matter much. A lot of people says it's a super big issue if you have too many creatures in your Meren deck, which depends on how you build it. The way I built mine, it doesn't matter at all. But that depends on your deck building, how you build your Meren. But whenever a creature is put into a target opponent's graveyard from play, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Notably, it does not say creature card. It just says creature. And so it counts tokens because tokens do hit the graveyard. That's something that a lot of people don't really think is true. It is. Tokens hit the graveyard, they just don't stay in the graveyard. And so the reason why some things say creature cards and others just say creatures is because when it says creature card, that eliminates tokens. But if it just says creatures, it counts tokens. So great way to gain life. Moving on, right? Um let's move over here. The nasty card. I wasn't sure where to put him. I guess I should have put him with WinCon, right? Butcher of Malakir. This dude was also in the pre-con. He's a 5/4 flying. He costs 7. Ouch. But also don't care. Whenever he or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacks a creature. Um, when you play him, expect to become arch enemy no matter how much of a threat other people are. Because if someone is an archenemy by beating people in the face with big creatures, and then another person is about to become archenemy by just removing other people's stuff, people are gonna hate when you mess with their stuff. They can deal taking that 20 damage to the face if it means your butcher is gone. So when you play him, have your shields up and have it up for the full rotation. You play him, and if you cannot protect him that turn, if you go shields down, leave your shields up. Don't play the other stuff. Give yourself a little bit to protect it because they will have responses either on that turn or on their turn. But yeah, he's amazing. He will wipe your opponent's boards in an instant. You just need to make sure he can get to that point. But if you build your deck right, they will have only the only chance they'll have is when he enters. Because the moment they say, I have no responses, I sacrifice 15 creatures, and each of you sacrifice 15 creatures. I draw 30 cards and lose 15 life and gain 15 life, so I lose no life. And then I create a 15 1/1s, and then I do this, and at that point, it's out of control. So they need to deal with him the moment he comes out, and they probably will. So have your responses ready for that. Moving on to Eyeless Watcher. Now, this one's gonna be a weird ad for most people, but I chose it because, as I said before, mana doesn't generally matter to Meren, because at some point you're gonna have so much of it you can play what you want. And so this one, when it enters the battlefield, you get 2/1/1 Eldrazi Scions, which can sacrifice themselves notably. So when you get to like when you just played Meren, next turn you play Eyeless Watcher and it gives you 2/1/1s. You can then sacrifice both of them for 2 colorless mana. You can leave it floating or do what you want with it. And that will give you 2 experience counters. End step, you can bring that Steve you sacrificed back on turn 2 to the field to do it again. It's a super nice. You can keep re-getting it out to re-get those scions. If you have Jaheira out, those sacrifice for mana creatures turn into just tap for mana creatures, which is even. I wouldn't say it's even better, but you could tap them for green mana and then sacrifice them for colorless mana. All around, I would suggest adding Eyeless Watcher. It helps in Meren no matter what. You play it, and it gives you 2 experience counters basically, and it could be a blocker, or you could just sacrifice it to bring it back on end step to do it again. Always good. Then you got Nadir, Agent of Descanel. 3/3. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, he gets a 1/1 counter, and when he leaves the battlefield, you get a number of elf warriors equal to his power. Notably, he does cost 6 mana for a 3/3, which in other cases I would not like, but in this case, he's great because you have a lot of tokens going in and out. And so when they leave, he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, you sacrifice him and get 20 1/1 elves. So he's a good ad. Then you got Corzada Guildmage. Now, 2/2 for 2. The first ability I don't use often, but there are situations where it could be a win con. If you're swinging with your super big, where are you? The super massive Glimmer Baron at someone who would die if they can't block it, give it Intimidate by paying 3. Target creature gets +1/+1 in Intimidate, and boom, they probably won't be able to block it, and they just die to a child in a Halloween costume. That's funny. But the main ability is you pay 4, sack a non-token creature, and you get X saplings, where X is a sack creature's toughness. So, you know that Nadir who was a 15/15? Yeah, no, sacrifice him to Crozata Guildmage, get 15 1/1 saplings and 15 Elf Warriors. That is hard to beat. Then we got Feed the Pack, which on your end step, you may sacrifice a non-token creature. If you do, you get X 2/2 green wolf creature tokens, where X is the sacrificed creature's toughness. Again, it's an enchantment, so it's not a creature. Some people might find that an issue. Like I said before many times, this deck does not find it an issue. Cost 6, mana's not that big of an issue either when you get to the part of the deck where it's getting hard to control, which is what it's built around mostly. But when you get to that point, it's getting really hard to stop. And this, you can sacrifice your Nadir to get 15 2/2 wolves and 15 1/1 elves, which, just for sacrificing a 15/15 and immediately getting 45 power on the board, you just triple the amount of power you had on from one creature. Really good, in other words. And it sacrifices a creature, so Meren likes it too. Now this one is it's been going in and out for me. Mycoloth. It costs 5, not an issue. It's a 4/4 Devour 2, notably. So as it enters, you can sacrifice any number of creatures you control and put the twice that many 1/1 counters on him. And so you sacrifice 10, you get 20 on him. And on your upkeep, you put a 1/1 green sapling creature token on the battlefield for each 1/1 counter on Mycoloth. So you just created 20 saplings on your upkeep. However, it's on your upkeep. That gives people a full rotation to deal with it. Most scenarios, I would say Mycoloth is very specific. However, with this deck, you have a lot of big threats coming in and out, and people have a lot to focus on. I think Mycoloth will and has slipped under the radar for most people until it's too late. You get those saplings out, doesn't matter if they kill him now. You got 20 power out of this dude. And you could always just beat people with him, but you don't generally do that. But yeah, he's nice. I would say add him, but you're gonna be not focused on him. He can be a win con though. Now for milling and discarding. There isn't a whole lot of that in here, but old stick fingers, which is always a good add to Meren. He costs a black, a green, and X. He's a star, and when you cast him, reveal cards in top of your library till you reveal X creature cards. Put all creature cards revealed this way into your graveyard, the rest bottom of your library in a random order. So, nice thing about Old Stick Fingers is you avoid the danger of milling yourself out because you only pick out the creatures and the rest go to the bottom. And his power and toughness are each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So it could be a big creature, but that doesn't matter. You want to cast him on turn like the mid game, where he will just dump some creatures in your graveyard for you to toy with, and then you can sacrifice him or do what you want with him. From there on, he doesn't really matter. You just want him for the cast. Notably, it's a cast. So even if they counter Old Stick Fingers, you still get those creatures to your graveyard. And so he's pointless to counter really, unless they really don't want you having a big creature, which valid. Then we got Cemetery Tampering. Um Nice, it has Hideaway 5, so later you just get something out for free. But upkeep, you may mill 3 cards. So when you get to the point where graveyard's big enough, stop milling yourself. Because in these kind of decks, it will quickly turn into a time clock for you. You will need to kill all three other players at the table before your deck runs out. And that may seem laughable, but when you're drawing like three cards for every creature you kill, and upkeep, you could be milling a whole bunch of cards and such like that, and milling yourself out with Alter Dementia or something. You could be down to like five cards, and that will in your deck. And at that point, that almost completely shuts down your ability to sacrifice stuff, unless you choose to start destroying your own card draw stuff, which is a sad place to be in. But it's nice. It's a May. And then if there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So it mills you some, and you can get a card for free later. Always nice. Only costs 3. Again, it's an enchantment, but not that big of an issue, in my opinion. In my humbly in my disgustingly humble opinion. Um, throw that out. Zombie Infestation. I love this one. It costs 2. It's an enchantment. Boo hoo, it's not a creature. Let's move on now. Discard 2 cards, create a 2/2 black zombie. That is freaking great in Meren because an issue she has in the early game is you could possibly be at like 5 experience counters, but you're only able to play like one creature a turn in the early game. So you play a zombie infestation and you just start pitching all your super expensive creatures into your graveyard, get yourself a zombie, and then step get that expensive creature out without having to cast it. And that's what Meren likes to do, cheat things out. And so, zombie infestation, if you just so happen to draw the card you wanted in your graveyard, you could just choose to pitch the cards you want. Super helpful, super nice. I used to have a little bit of discarding synergy in here, but I took it out because I wanted more focus on just killing things. And hence why the discarding is in with the milling, because they're basically the same. Now, board wipes. There's only 2 in here. We'll start with Culling Ritual. This one's more for the ramp, but destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less, add a black or green for each permanent destroyed this way. So you destroy all those cheap mana rocks, you destroy all those tokens, you destroy all that nice jazz, and you'll ramp yourself up for an explosive turn while knocking your opponents down to make it harder to deal with you later. Great, I love Culling Ritual. I've seen some people take it out because it's not a creature. I don't think that's enough of an excuse to take out this good of a card. Always nice to have in here, especially if you have Eternal Witness and ways to fetch it out. Then we got Toxic Deluge, obviously. 3, pay as additional cost to cast it, pay X life. All creatures get -X/-X. Before I before I had a Toxic Deluge, Meren's only board wipe was a Culling Ritual, and that doesn't work very well for a board wipe, obviously. And so I figured I needed at least one for those scenarios where Meren's on the back foot, which doesn't happen often, but it has happened before. And board wipes don't actually hurt Meren a whole lot, because unless they're exile board wipes, in which case, ow, that is terrifying. But Toxic Deluge, you pay, let's say, 3 life for it. You get rid of all those annoying creatures. Meren lives through it, and end step you could you just made yourself a whole bunch of experience counters, so get whatever you want back, basically. Great board wipe. I don't think I even need to explain it a whole lot, but I did. We're moving on to the tiny creatures you want dead, or stuff like that. You got Tough Cookie. It sacrifices itself to gain 3 life, and you can turn your non-creature artifacts into 4/4 creatures. And it enters and gives you a food. Gain you life, kills itself, make creatures into will make non-creatures into creatures if you need blockers or if you need to swing. Um, Notably, it says until end of turn, obviously. He only costs 2, and early game, you want those things that could kill themselves. So, I'm saying that a lot. YouTube's probably not going to like this video, but things happen. We got Veteran Explorer, which people may find as a weird ad. I think he's with Krav the Unredeemed in the way of when he dies, each player may search their library for 2 basic lands, put it to field, then shuffle. He costs 1 for 1/1. You play him, you kill him, everybody gets something out of it, and that makes it far less likely for people to want you dead, especially if you're doing that every turn. While they're focused on, look at all this ramp I'm getting, you're focused on, and then I play a Butcher of Malakir, and I'm going to sacrifice a whole bunch of creatures, and you're not going to have boards. Have fun with all that mana I gave you. So you can trick people to think into thinking you're helping them. Notably, have had this backfire on me where they're able to use the mana I give them before I can screw them over. So keep that in mind when you're using this. And it ramps you, which is good too. And the ramp comes out untapped. Keep your turn going, basically. Viridian Emissary. It dies, fetches you basically untapped, and 2 for 2/1. Always good, honestly. It's never a situation where it's not good. But yeah, Viridian Emissary, always good. Uh, Wood Elves, they enter, fetch you a forest card, field, untapped, and sacrifice them, bring them back, do it again, that sort of stuff. Ramp. Golgari ramp gets disgusting. Steve, more ramp. He's self-sacrifice, always good. And Kinker Bloom, you could sacrifice it to blow up an artifact or enchantment, but the main one you're going to be doing is proliferating because he kills himself, getting you an experience counter. Then you can proliferate to give yourself another experience counter, which is just so good. We're gonna pop back to recursion real quick because I missed 2 cards. Or actually, I missed a few. Yeah, we're just gonna pop back and I'll edit this out if I talked about them already. So yeah, we're gonna pop back to recursion real quick and yeah, Altar of Ball. Uh, it can exile creature you control, turn a creature to the battlefield. Wanted more recursion? We got Rise of the Witch King. Pay for it. Each player sacks a creature, and if you sack a creature this way, you return a permanent from graveyard to the battlefield, which is good in the same vein that Eternal Witness is. It brings back whatever you need it to. Back for more, always good. Extra recursion, and it could be recursion with added on removal. Always good. Eternal Witness, ETBs, gets you any card from your graveyard back. Always nice. Grimoire of the Dead. I wouldn't necessarily put it as a recursion card in the same vein as Eternal Witness or Back for More. It's more of a, like, this is a game winning play sort of thing. Because when you pay 1, tap, discard a card, gets a study counter. And discarding's nice, yeah. Same vein as Zombie Infestation. But tap, remove 3 study counters and sacrifice it. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield near control. They're black zombies in addition to their other colors and types. In other words, I get, if you're in the super late game, I get all the creatures from the rest of my deck, which are all in my graveyard now because of what's his face, old stick fingers. Play sacrifice Grimoire of the Dead, dump all the creatures from your deck to field, get all the ETBs. It could be game winning play right there. And another really good card, Sheree Shizo's Caretaker. 2/2 for 5, which icky, but also whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put into my graveyard, from the battlefield. You may return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step if she's still in the battlefield. This one is terrifying because your Steve, your Wood Elves, your Veteran Explorer, all of those, you don't have to waste the Meren recursion on. And so you sacrifice them while she's out, boom. End step, get it right back, get it right back, get it right back, do it again. So, yeah. Don't know if you can tell. It's a good one. Now, death triggers. Sifter of Skulls. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you get a 1/1 Scion. That's good. And it's a creature, so you can sacrifice it if you need to. However, it says another, so it won't give you that Scion. Keep that in mind. Catacomb Sifter. Really good early, really good late. Enters battlefield, gets you a Scion. 2/3. Whenever another creature you control dies, scry 1. Lets you set your deck, kind of. Lets you set your next few draws, really. And when it enters, it gives you that Scion. So you could sacrifice it, keep bringing it back if that's what you need to do. Golgari Cremination. Another non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 Sacriling. Great card. Highly suggest adding it in almost any Meren deck because it gets you that stuff. Smothering Abomination, upkeep second creature. It's a 4/3 flying for 4, which good blocker, really. You don't really care about swinging in until you're swinging for game. And whenever you sack a creature, draw a card. Great. Ravenous Squirrel, whenever you sack a creature or artifact, he gets a 1/1 counter. You can pay 3, sack an artifact or creature to gain a life and draw a card. And it's a 1/1 for 1 that gets bigger over time. Great card. Dark Prophecy. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card and lose a life. Great card. Most people know of it if they're running kill decks. But I prefer Moldervine Reclamation myself. Whenever a creature you control dies, you gain a life and draw a card instead of losing that life. A lot of people like to pay the life, but why pay the life when you can gain the life? Now, the fun part. Let's move on to the win cons. Starting with the less notable win cons and moving on from there. So, exoskeletal armor. Enchanted creature gets +X/+X, where X number of creature cards in all graveyards. You're going to be killing your other opponent's creatures a lot. Obviously, you're going to have a very full graveyard. You enchant it on a creature like that has flying. So like your Burning Rune Demon or something, and give it +25/+25 or something, and it will just beat people in the face really hard and become an issue. But it's not quite the level of game ending as some of these other ones. Dreadfast Feast Demon. 6/6 flying. End step you have to sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a tokenless copy of Dreadfeast Demon. Play this when you're gonna be going for game in a few turns. Play it when you have enough creatures to sacrifice, because eventually you won't have enough to sacrifice, no matter how many you are getting, unless you go infinite. Because soon you're gonna be getting 30 of these, then 30 will go to 60, 60 to 120, 120 to 240. Exponential growth on a creature. 6/6 flyer, that is a game ender if you do it right. And once you get to end step and that triggers on the stack, killing it doesn't mean anything. Moving on to the Extractor Demon. 5/5 flying. Whenever another creature leaves the battlefield, you may have target player mill 2. That is disgusting. Because it doesn't matter if it's your creature or their creature, and you can mill anyone you want for 2 per creature that dies. So, Toxic Deluge for 4. You just killed, I don't know, easily could kill 40 creatures. You have 80 cards about to be milled on the stack. That's probably a kill shot for anyone you want. So having that as a threat You try to screw with me or try to kill me, I can take you out too. This dude is terrifying to go for game with. I don't generally mill other people unless I can go for game with that. Bloodspore Thrinax. This dude is lovely. He's one of my favorite cards in here because T2, Devour one, like the Maya Goloth, but not as big of a Devour. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional X 1/1 counters on it, where X is number 1/1 counters on Bloodsport Thrinax. So let's say you just got those 21 ones from Mycoloth, sacrifice all 20 of them, and throw Mycoloth into the mix. And now you have a 23/23 creature, and all your other creatures will enter with 21 1/1 counters. That kills people. Death comes swiftly at that point. Champion of Lamholt. Now, this one you probably won't see in many Meren decks, but this Meren deck will can generally go for game by swinging. And so 1/1 creatures with power less than Champion of Lamholt's power can't block creatures you control. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Champion of Lamholt. So you just played you just I don't know got your Korzada Guildmage sacrifice on a deer for 15 Saprolings and 15 Elf Warriors. Well, when those 30 creatures enter, she gets 31 when counters, and anything with that's 30 power or less can't block your stuff anymore. And then people just die. So, WinCon, you got Gary, which he's a pretty obvious choice to put in Meren. There's really not many reasons not to put him in here. He enters the battlefield, and each opponent loses X life, where X is their devotion to black, and you gain life equal life lost this way. So, let's say your devotion to black is 10. Uh, each of your opponents lose 10 life, and if you have a pot of 4, you just gained 30 life. And then you sacrifice him, and on end step, he comes right back to do it again. Gary is great. Gary the Great. Altar of Dementia. I've been talking about it a decent amount. Sack a creature, target player, mills cards equal to sacrifice creature's power. So, someone's about to try and kill you, like you have death on stack, sack your entire board and mill their entire deck, and they're going out with you. And also, free sack source, and it's a 2-drop. And my favorite win con, Kessig Cage Breakers. 3/4, whenever they attack, you get a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking for each creature card in your graveyard. Now, normally, you would be like 4 or 5 in a normal deck. But with this kind of deck, that's 15 to 20. Let's say it's on the low side. Let's say it's 15 creatures, 2/2 wolves coming out. That is 30 power onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking immediately. And I don't know, let's say you just so happen to have that Bloodspore Thrinax with 21 1/1 counters on it. Um, you just dumped 15 33 30 23 23 wolves onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. So I hope they have a lot of removal, or they're about to get their faces beaten and they're about to die. It's a glorious way to win. But that is my Meren deck. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider subscribing. We are going to have more and more Magic content coming to this channel as I speak, maybe. Certainly, the channel for the foreseeable future will be switching gears to focus on Magic the Gathering. And I hope you all enjoy. I hope you all have a great night. Stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.